Hello everyone. We at Forces Families Jobs welcome Helen Massy, who is going to talk to us about her second edition of Career Pursuit. And Career Pursuit is a career guide for military families on the move. But before we jump in straight away, I'd just like to introduce you quickly to the other members of the Forces Families Jobs team who are joining us on this chat with Helen. And that's Jenna Richardson. Jenna is from the Army Families Federation as the Employment and Training Specialist, and also Wendy Quinn, who is our Naval Families Federation Employment Specialist, and lots of other jobs at the moment, Wendy, aren't you? Whilst you're coming aboard. Sarah also can't be with us today, but if you email the Central Forces Families Jobs team email that's on the website, it's mostly Sarah who will be answering you, and it's always just quite nice to put names to faces. So moving on to Helen. Helen, you're a military partner yourself, aren't you, of someone who serves? So you're about 18 years now in, aren't you,
so
if I remember?
Years,
And that's obviously including many overseas postings. And Helen actually also has an extensive background as a healthcare professional and senior leader in the UK's NHS, as well as a mother to 3 sprightly young children. And Helen, if I'm right, you were a respiratory specialist, weren't you?
That's right, yes. So I was a physiotherapist by trade, but I focused my career in respiratory and worked most of the time in the NHS as a respiratory specialist. I was sort of training at the time when I met my husband at university, and I was very lucky that actually the first few years when we were together, we didn't move that much. So I was able to sort of continue my education, continue my career. And I had a really lengthy career in the NHS for over a decade. And yeah, I managed to get jobs as we moved around and sort of stick with the same career. But then, as everybody knows, there always comes a time where that becomes a little bit more difficult. And that was when we started moving internationally.
So just to start things off, so where did the idea of Career Pursuit come from?
Yeah, so it really came from my own experience. So as I said, we began to move internationally and we first went to the Falklands. So I wasn't able to work clinically because there wasn't any childcare available at the time for under 2s. And obviously we've got very small children. And then we went straight from the Falklands to Canada. And again, I couldn't work clinically because the time it takes to get registration and the qualifications don't transfer. So I had to start thinking outside the box as to what I was going to do for a new career. And it was at that point that I reached out back to the UK and also to Canada and actually to the US for career support to think, what do I do? You know, what do I do now? How do I transfer my qualifications, my skills, and things like that? And it was quite difficult at the time to find the support, even though there's a wealth of support available. There wasn't sort of anybody that knew where everything was. And it was through that sort of process that Career Pursuit was born, really, because I realised that actually it took me months and months and months. And even now, you know, 18 months in, I'm still finding out about great companies and great courses and great organisations that support military spouses and veterans and partners. And there's no one place to find out about it all.
That's really interesting, Helen. Thank you so much for that. Can you tell us a bit more about exactly what Career Pursuit is? You know, we know the last edition was an online information portal, if you like, but can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what it is, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, it's a sort of one-stop shop to find career support for military spouses, partners, and veterans. And that's not just for people looking for employment, but also entrepreneurs, business owners, and people just exploring their different options, really. So it's last year's edition was a bit of a pilot, really. So it was a small online guide which housed a lot of the resources available. This year we have a full 88-page magazine, which is split into different sections. So there is advice for job seekers, advice for entrepreneurs and business owners, and then resources of everything that's accessible to help you through your career transition, and then some useful checklists as well. So it really is just a wealth of information that you need to know if you're having to transition your career, or where you can turn to for support and guidance.
Brilliant, thank you.
Helen, I'm just really interested to know how you found sort of moving around the world impacted your career, really, and sort of it was that the driving force behind career pursuit.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, I couldn't work clinically anymore, and I had to think of a new career. And it's actually ended up really positive that I set up my own business as a medical and health writer, and I now write for, you know, globally for a number of companies, still able to use my clinical information and knowledge that I'd learned, but translating that into health literacy. But I knew nothing about starting a business. I knew nothing about how to do that, you know, or any of the backgrounds on how you start a business. And so it was through that transition that I had to start researching and finding all these things out. And I've been really lucky that I've built a really successful business. But I had to obviously get a lot of support from a lot of people. And so it's finding all those resources that are available, which pulled into Career Pursuit really, and made me realise that everybody needs this information, because you never know at what point in the military that you're going to have to, you know, transfer your career. Like I said, I had a lengthy career in the NHS and was very lucky, but, you know, moving internationally is very different, and it's very difficult to maintain that career when you're moving abroad.
Thank you, Helen. I absolutely love that you've taken these skill sets that you have and transferred them into a whole new career, and I think that that's really exciting.
I'm really lucky, and, you know, it's something I hadn't ever really thought about in the past, and I don't think you do think about it until you have to make a choice and a decision. And what's, you know, extra beneficial for me is we do have 3 small children. You know, my husband is still serving in the military, so I can completely fit the business around our lifestyle now, which just makes any moves, and, you know, much easier in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, as we know, in the UK, there's 1,800 military charities out there to support the whole armed forces community. And I know some of those focus on veterans, some of them focus on children, some of them, you know, there's such a broad range. And how possibly it's, you don't know what you don't know, do you? And it's how do you bring that in? And for this particular purpose, it's that whole employment and career support element, isn't it? And I know we spoke on the phone very early days when you started out to do that first guide, and it was you didn't know any of this stuff existed, did you? You'd actually trawled internationally. So
Yeah.
that's such a big message to us, as because obviously we're here talking to you today as Forces, Families, Jobs, but each of us represent the single service RAF, Army Families Federation, Naval Families Federation as well. And we know it's a challenge for all of us to reach the wider community. It's not as straightforward as you think, just putting a bit of comms out. If it was as easy as that, then you wouldn't have had the need to do that, the guide, would you? But it's just huge hats off to you. And how did it feel to you when you pulled that career guide together, once you finally started finding all these dots lining up?
I think for me, it just the feedback that I got was just made me feel wonderful. I've got to be honest, because so many people came back to me and said, I never knew that all these things existed, and that's exactly what I need right now. You know, oh, I've been really struggling to write a CV, or I've been really struggling to get some support on, you know, how to transfer my skills. And getting that feedback from other spouses and veterans has just been so positive. And I didn't really know what to expect, I'll be honest. You know, I put it out there, and it was a pilot, and, you know, a bit of a whim from my own experience, but it built so positively, and I've had nothing but great feedback from people that have used it. And I think what I was really surprised with as well was actually just through, like, my husband talking about it at work and things, his colleagues then passing it on to their partners, and they're saying, oh yeah, we never knew about this. And, you know, like we've said, there are so many amazing resources out there, so many charities, so many people willing to help you, but it's getting that message out, which has been so difficult. And obviously the bonus of this is that anybody can log on online and read it. You know, it's free to everybody, it doesn't cost anything, and it just makes it really easily accessible.
And this year, Helen, you've actually managed to get some sponsorship towards it as well, so that it can be offered out in hard copy as well. Who is it that sponsored it with you?
Really exciting. So we've got 2 main sponsors, which are Barclays and Royal Air Force Astra. They've been really supportive, and obviously they're very big in trying to support the military through career transition, especially with veterans. And also I know Barclays are launching their new military spouse employment programme this summer. So they've both got lots going on in that field and very kindly sponsored the magazine. And that has meant that we've been able to get printed copies. So it's now in a hard copy magazine, and it will go to every information office, tri-service, RAF, Navy, Army, UK wide, as well as having the free online digital download. So their sponsorship has really helped this reach much, much further this year.
Lovely. I think it's probably fair to say that if an overseas family is watching this and they'd like to get hold of a hard copy, I'm looking at Jenna and Wendy. If somebody approached each of their families federation, I'm sure we could post out hard copies to family members if they need to get hold of them.
Absolutely, and I have already had somebody reach out from overseas, and so I've got their address to send them a copy. So I'm more than happy if anybody also wants to contact me directly. You know, the fact that we can just get this out to people, that's what's important.
Helen, can I ask, you spoke about Barclays and your other funders in making that hard copy available and how important that is to getting that out further afield. How important do you think collaboration is when we talk about spousal employment?
I think the collaboration part of it is key, really. And because, like I've said, all these great organisations, but everybody does want to work together and everybody does want to just support each other. And I think just that sharing of information just makes the transition so much easier. I actually have an article in the magazine about collaboration in business and how important that is. And even just building the networks, I've found now owning my own business, there's a whole supportive network out there, which has really opened my eyes. And what's wonderful about the military spouse and veteran community is everybody wants to help each other. You know, I've reached out to people I've never met before and asked them for advice about, you know, how to scale my business or where to find an accountant or, you know, all sorts of different aspects. And nobody's turned around and said, no, I'm not going to help you. Everybody has just been really wonderful and forward with helping each other. And there's such a supportive network out there. So I think the collaboration part of it is absolutely key.
Thank you.
And it's going to be available from the 21st, Helen, is that right?
That's right. So from the 21st of June, the magazine will be available. There should be some hard copies in every information office. However, if people want to download a digital version, they can go to my website, which is www.medicalandhealthwriter.com. And there's a tab on the top there specifically for career pursuit. So it's very easy to find. And I also know that Forces Families Jobs will have a link on their website. And hopefully you'll see it popping up lots of promotion everywhere as well. So you'll see the links all around to download the free digital version.
And I know we've got an article currently in Envoy, haven't we? And the other two families feds will have one too. I'm convinced. So Wendy, you look like you were just about to say something again. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just going to ask Helen, so you spoke earlier about the guide, how there's sections for those looking for CV advice, those that are entrepreneurs, etc. I was just going to ask if there's a section on mentoring, or if even the guide sort of, you mentioned your website there, and obviously your background is medical. I'm right in thinking that Career Pursuit is very much designed for anybody, no matter what sort of area of work they want to go into. It's not tailored to a specific field.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's tailored entirely towards anybody. And although this is, I suppose, a magazine for the military community, purely because of the resources that are in there, actually the first 2/3 of the magazine would be relevant to anybody that's seeking a job or looking to start a business. So in the job seeking section, for example, like I mentioned, how to write a CV, top interview tips, but we even have things like about behavioural profiling and whether that's something you should explore to get the right match for your job. Financial resilience, just planning your finances if you are looking to go through a career transition. So lots and lots of different aspects, even down to how to have a growth mindset, you know, and reach the goal that you want to. And then if we move on to the entrepreneur section, we have things like how to start a podcast, or how to take your photos and LinkedIn headshots without being a professional photographer, or pensions for business owners. So lots and lots of useful advice, which would be, relevant to anybody regardless of their career.
Yeah, I like the sound of that, because that is the taking the photos and things like that are the simple things, but actually if you don't do them right, it does give off the wrong image, doesn't it? So that's brilliant.
It
Can't wait
really
to get
does
it.
sound like there's something for everyone in this. It sounds like, like you say, you cover the simple things that make such a massive difference. And I think there's an awful lot of spouses in our community who particularly are looking at the self-employment option, and those little practical hints and tips will make such a difference to their business and the success of their business. So it all sounds like you've really filling a gap in the market, as it were, and it's really exciting to know that this information is coming out, and also to hear you talk about the developments from the last one and how it's progressed. It's just such an exciting topic.
Yeah, and we've even tried to cover things like, for the business owners, like branding or how to simplify social media, because it's quite overwhelming, and I found it very overwhelming starting a business. What you need to focus on first, and what is important, and what you need to get right, straight off the bat. And I think, yeah, it makes it quite simple. I suppose the problem we have in the future is there's so much information you can put in there. We would love to fill it and fill it and fill it. But we try to keep it really relevant to what people are going to need, and keep it current to what's important now. But I just want people to know it's not something they have to sign up for. It's not something you have to commit to. It is just a free magazine, which is full of useful information.
Oh, well, Helen, do you know what? From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for doing the guide. We know ourselves what work goes into things like that, and you've done that off your own back. And not only that, you've done it in a super professional manner, and it's a publication that many would expect to purchase. So the fact that you're offering it free of charge to everybody is a huge thank you from us to you. So thank you ever so much, and we look forward to seeing it when it goes live.
Thank you so much.